Hey folks, Jackdaw here. Happy New Year. We've officially stepped into 2025 and we need to start the year right by talking about what's next for Dragon Age. From upcoming patches for the Veilguard to hints about the franchise's future, EA's upcoming earnings call, and maybe even a bit about the next Mass Effect. Today we're breaking down everything we know so far to start the year right. I will be discussing major story ending spoilers towards the end of this video, but I will let you know when we do get to that point just in case you haven't finished the game. With that said, let's jump straight into what we know about the current state of Dragon Age and BioWare. So immediately upcoming for Dragon Age the Veilguard, BioWare do have another patch lined up scheduled for an early release of 2025. This will most likely include a bunch of bug fixes, but if we look back at the previous patches we have had some cool updates, including giving Rook the mage variant of Hawk's champion armor, complete with their body paint and blood smear on their nose, as well as the previous patch before that, the N7 day patch, where we got an N7 inspired armor for Rook too. So I'm curious to see what other surprises might be in store, if there are any. Of course, only time will tell what this patch comprises. It's definitely something to keep our eyes on, and I don't think we'll have too long to wait for that. Now, following that, on February 4th, 2025, we have EA's Q3 earnings call that I do believe may give us some important clues about the future of the Veilguard and also establishing some more context on the Veilguard's sales. Now, I'm not expecting a full deep delve into the financial success of the game. This is Electronic Arts after all. They may just say the Veilguard performed well and leave it at that, but there are currently rumours swirling around about the game's current sales, with some estimated rumours suggesting that it has sold less than 2 million units. I am hoping that EA can shed some light on where they stand with this, what this means, and if that is a good number given their expectation for this game, that being a game that has spent 10 years in development, is less than 2 million units good enough. Now, the thing about a game's success is that it isn't just in its sales, it's about how many players are actively engaged. The player base is really what matters, and there's always a target number that publishers are aiming for. So if the Veilguard has hit its target, that would then open the room for a potential sequel or whatever is going to go on with the future of Dragon Age. If it falls short of that estimated target, well then the future of the series may get a little murkier. Either way, there's no point assuming or guessing. We just need to see how EA are going to frame this, and we're going to find that out on February 4th. I will of course cover that at the time once we get those details. Now, before we move on talking about the future of the Veilguard and DLC and Dragon Age 5, there is a bit of sad news that has hit the Dragon Age team just before the new year, and that is Sylvia, the writer of some of my favourite Dragon Age characters like Emmerich and Josephine. Unfortunately, Sylvia has left BioWare after working there for 15 years. I've loved her contributions to the franchise. Emmerich is my favourite character in the Veilguard, and so this is definitely a huge loss for the team, but I do wish Sylvia all the best on whatever comes next. But things are certainly going to hit different having not have her voice in future Dragon Age and Mass Effect projects. As we touched upon in the earnings call section there, you know, we're all thinking about what's next for the Veilguard. We've got patches upcoming. What about DLC? Well, one thing we've unfortunately known for a while is that BioWare has confirmed that there will be no DLC for the Veilguard. In fact, during the Dragon Age Day Ask Me Anything, Corinne Bush, the game director, spoke about how the team really focused on making every choice in the Veilguard matter to this particular story, even if some past decisions didn't have the direct impact fans might have expected. Ultimately, the Veilguard was made to be as much of a complete package as possible, and therefore, unfortunately, DLC is off the table. Having said that, there are still plenty of story threads that are left to explore, especially when we consider the Veilguard's ending. So your story ending spoiler warning is here as we talk about what's next after Dragon Age the Veilguard. What is potentially upcoming for Thedas next? So the secret ending of the Veilguard teased something massive for the future of Thedas, and it involves enigmatic, subtle players behind the scenes, the Executors, a secretive, shadowy organization that speak on behalf of powers across the sea. As we learned, these mysterious voices have been influencing key events in the background since the very beginning, potentially even since before the elven gods. Characters like Loghain and Bartrand have all been manipulated by their whispers, steering events in the direction that they want it to go in. What's interesting though is that these executors are apparently out to remove the elven gods from the picture. They've been playing a very long game, and while no one is being forced to do anything, they've managed to influence and nudge pivotal figures to take certain actions. The question is, what exactly are these executors preparing for, and what does that mean for the rest of Thedas, especially now that the elven gods have been all neutralized or dismissed? And so BioWare has been dropping hints at what could be next, while they haven't outrightly confirmed Dragon Age 5. The groundwork for something massive has certainly been laid out. So I'm thinking we might see more on the executors, these mysterious whispers, and potentially what could come next for the Veilguard. The door is definitely wide open for these plot points to be explored in a future game. Unfortunately, it would have been perfect for DLC, but that isn't the avenue that BioWare seemingly are going in. It certainly seems though, in BioWare's ideal scenario, of course, once we learn about the sales and we understand EA's expectations, that the world of Dragon Age is far from over conceptually. Now, I know we're all focused on the Veilguard right now, but let's not forget about the other big franchise BioWare now has in full works, and that is the next Mass Effect. And if you're excited or anticipated or eagerly nervous for that game, you're definitely going to want to be around for N7 Day 2025, which is of course November 7th. I've been talking with Eric Anderson, formerly BioFan, and he is predicting that this could be the year BioWare drop the title reveal for the next Mass Effect. If BioWare are to go back to shorter, hopefully more healthier development cycles, we could see that game within the next 2 to 3 years. Though I don't want to give anybody too much hope considering we waited 10 years for the Veilguard. But the next Mass Effect is currently under the codename Bowie, which has some major Space Odyssey vibes, and I'm all for it as a huge fan of David myself. We'll talk more about Mass Effect in separate videos, just wanted to lay that one out for you as the majority of the Dragon Age team is now working on the next Mass Effect anyway. They've all basically left the Veilguard project, besides those working on these patches. So to recap, 2025 is shaping up to be an interesting year for Dragon Age. We've got upcoming patches and hopefully some concrete financial information from EA's earnings call. Now I'm not trying to have too high hopes for it, but I would at least like to understand EA's expectations and what they desired for the Veilguard versus the actual reality, to actually have some concrete information as opposed to spurious rumour or what have you. Equally to that, we have a ton of plot lines and story questions left open for a direct sequel, a Dragon Age 5 far in the future. So it certainly seems like the team would like to continue with Dragon Age despite the Veilguard closing up a lot of chapters. There's still room for what could come next. And yeah, while I would love to see DLC for the Veilguard, it feels like it's the most ripe Dragon Age game for a DLC on the executors, on Davrin or Harding, or even the bits of cut content that I examined in my last video that could have made its way into a DLC. BioWare are now fully focused on advancing the Mass Effect franchise now, so really now all the work is going into that project, which I am excited for, and we'll talk about in another video on our hopes for that. Either way, what are you hoping for the Veilguard? What are your thoughts on its sales expectations? And what would you like to see from a Dragon Age 5? I know we're already talking about that. That's crazy. We're literally clowning for that. But let's at least wait till EA's earnings calls before we get too excited about that. What are your thoughts on the Veilguard as a whole? And just want to wish you all a happy new year. It's been 8, now 9 years on YouTube for me, following the next Dragon Age game's development for so long. Hard to believe that this moment has finally came and went. But you know, I'm certainly here for the long haul, and I'm also going to be talking about a few other fantasy RPGs that equally garner my interest as much as Dragon Age. So do stay tuned for that if you are interested in following other fantasy RPGs, as well as, of course, Mass Effect. I am full and through a BioWare content creator, with now just trying out a few things here and there. But of course, until the next one, I've been Jackdaw, wishing you all a happy new year. I should go. Whoa, 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 whoa.